3 days before my dream wedding, my fiancé cancelled everything to find himself. What he found instead was his entire family, discovering his secret double life, his hidden debts, and the other woman he'd been seeing for months. Sometimes karma needs a little help from a scorned bride. Before we dive into this wild story of betrayal and revenge, smash that like button if you've ever wanted to expose someone's lies, and subscribe because you're about to witness the most satisfying karma story ever. My name is Isla and I used to believe in fairy tales. I mean literally, I'm a wedding planner, so creating perfect days was my job. But planning my own wedding, that was supposed to be the masterpiece of my career. 18 months of meticulous planning, every detail crafted with the precision of a Swiss watch. The venue was a historic mansion with gardens that looked like they belonged in a magazine. The dress was vintage lace that took 6 months to alter. The flowers were peonies and garden roses, imported from 3 different countries because Theo said I deserved nothing but perfection. Theo Martinez was everything I thought I wanted in a husband, successful marketing executive, drove a BMW, lived in a downtown loft that screamed achievement. When he proposed on Christmas morning in front of his entire family, I felt like I'd won the relationship lottery. His mother, Patricia, immediately started planning family dinners to welcome me into their tight-knit circle. His father, Robert, would joke about finally having a daughter who appreciated good wine. His sister, Chloe, became my instant best friend, texting me daily about wedding planning excitement. The Martinez family was everything. My broken family wasn't stable, successful, genuinely happy to be around each other. Sunday dinners were sacred. Holiday traditions were elaborate affairs. They had inside jokes spanning decades, and photo albums that could fill a library. When Theo slipped that ring on my finger, I wasn't just marrying him. I was finally getting the family I'd always dreamed of. But looking back now, the signs were everywhere. Theo had been different for weeks leading up to the wedding, distracted during our final venue walkthrough, snappy when vendors called with last-minute questions. He'd disappear for hours claiming work emergencies, then return home exhausted and distant. When I'd ask about it, he'd kiss my forehead and blame pre-wedding stress. I believed him because I wanted to. Because admitting something was wrong meant facing the possibility that my perfect life was built on quicksand. The morning of March 15th, I was addressing the last batch of thank you notes when my phone rang. Theo's name lit up the screen, and I answered with a smile, expecting him to ask about pickup times for our rehearsal dinner suits. Instead, his voice came through shaky and broken. The words hit me like physical blows. He needed space. We were moving too fast. He had to find himself before he could commit to forever. I remember dropping the phone and watching it skitter across my hardwood floors. 150 guests expecting to celebrate our love in 3 days. Vendors who'd worked months to create our perfect day. A dress hanging in my closet that would never see an aisle. And me standing in the middle of my apartment, surrounded by wedding planning chaos, suddenly understanding that the life I'd built was nothing more than an elaborate illusion. The first 48 hours after Theo's bombshell were a blur of tissues, wine, and Meredith practically force-feeding me takeout while I oscillated between rage and devastation. But you know what's funny about heartbreak? Eventually, the tears dry up and the questions start flowing. Why now? Why 3 days before our wedding? And most importantly, why did he seem so relieved when he made that call? Meredith was the one who planted the seed. She'd been suspicious of Theo for months, catching little inconsistencies in his stories that I'd dismissed as wedding stress. Isla, she said, sitting cross-legged on my couch while I clutched a box of tissues. Men don't just wake up and decide to cancel weddings. Something triggered this, and I think you deserve to know what. At first I resisted. Part of me wanted to preserve whatever dignity I had left, to take the high road and move on gracefully. But the other part of me, the part that had spent 18 months planning every detail of a wedding that would never happen, that part was furious. That part wanted answers. The practical stuff came first. Theo had left so much of his life scattered around our shared apartment that I had legitimate reasons to go through his things. I started innocent enough, just packing his clothes into boxes. But then I found the receipts. expensive dinners at restaurants,